It's a case that puzzled everyone. Nicknamed the smartest yet dumbest bank heist. Cleverness and stupidity rolled into one. Somehow the thief got around every rule of logic and robbed the bank in plain daylight in front of people with the easiest trick you can imagine. But the craziness you're about to hear will make you stop and wonder more than once. What really happened? And that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this episode. Something I can guarantee you've never heard before. So don't forget to hit that like button, my friend, and let's start today's episode. Peace be upon you, I'm Ahmed with a new episode of Random Thoughts, a series I abandoned almost for a year or more. Perhaps I might remember it, but if you liked this episode, put a like on the video and I'll try to upload another one within the next year. In 1914, a Buddhist monk called Yangur the Great made an extraordinary request. He asked his disciples and fellow monks to bury him alive during deep meditation. Inside a sealed copper coffin, he would descend into a trance, to be interred beside the monastery grounds, only to be awakened 75 years later. And so the burial was carried out, and the years passed, until 1989. In that year, a group of Buddhist monks returned to the site, dug into the earth, and unearthed a copper coffin. When they opened it, they stumbled upon something that has baffled the world to this very day. If you think they found the monk still alive, well, no, my friend. That would only be possible if monks had unlocked cheat codes like in a video game. The truth is, he was dead. What was most astonishing was that the monk's body remained exactly as it was the day he was buried, seated in meditation, untouched by decay, defying time itself and leaving behind a trail of questions. How did Yangur withstand the suffocating lack of oxygen? How did he remain so motionless, without even a flicker of expression on his face, as the air around him ran out? And how could his body remain perfectly intact all this time without decaying? That should be impossible without embalming substances. Yet, according to one monk, Yangur himself chose to meditate underground for 75 whole years after reading a mysterious book. A book said to contain knowledge far beyond what the world had ever seen. But after Yangur was buried, the book vanished. Where did it go? And what secrets lay hidden within its pages? Perhaps we will never know. It is said that the book found its way into the hands and minds of powerful figures, who used it to fuel technologies we now consider impossible. Among them, the infamous chronovisor, allegedly built based on this book. The book, owned by the Vatican, is shrouded in mystery and contains extraordinary knowledge inscribed directly upon it centuries ago. Where did the book vanish? It was concealed once the secret of the chronovisor machine was uncovered, a device that revolutionized the very idea of time travel. No longer was it about simply stepping back into the past with one's body and mind intact. Instead, it allowed the past to be seen through a dedicated screen connected to the machine itself. But the device required an entire station, much like those in Project HARP, packed with transmitters and directional receivers. Through carefully calibrated frequencies, aimed with precision at a chosen spot, it made it possible to literally witness the history of that place. Of course, the idea sounds impossible, but it was actually discovered, and people witnessed historical events unfold before their very eyes. Events so monumental they reshaped the course of history, and continue to shape our lives today. A machine was built based on a rare science, capable of conjuring these events out of nothing. Such a thing could only be achieved if you had access to a certain kind of knowledge, the kind hidden in forbidden books. But the machine was concealed, its existence denied, and its destruction proclaimed, once the truth finally came to light. Let's go back to that mysterious book said to contain strange knowledge. Where did it vanish? What kind of secrets could it possibly hold? And most importantly, who wrote it? Questions people have asked for centuries, with no answers found. What we do know is that the monk Yangur the Great, head of a Buddhist monastery, did not decide to bury himself alive until he had been convinced of something he read within its pages. What could that be? Only God knows. Here's what I think, my friend. We are utterly clueless when it comes to the hidden sciences. Still, the fact that we don't understand them doesn't mean they don't exist, but a book said to grant its owners extraordinary powers, like those of monks or even the Vatican. To be honest, I find that hard to believe. Despite the mystery surrounding the Buddhist monk, his body remaining intact for 75 years, the undeniable truth is that he died, and we never witnessed what truly took place. Perhaps he was embalmed, or maybe it was nothing more than a cleverly crafted mannequin. Then there's the Vatican's alleged time machine, said to have been forged from a cryptic manuscript filled with otherworldly knowledge. But the machine disappeared, leaving behind nothing but whispers and leaks. It all feels like a trick, an illusion meant to frighten you, to make you feel foolish, while hinting at secrets of impossible power that you'll never touch. So they managed to plant a few ideas in your mind. The first one, that you are primitive, uncivilized, while he alone holds the science of the earth, the kind of knowledge that supposedly gives them the right to rule the world. But let's not forget, our Arab sciences, our discoveries, and our ancient civilizations prove that Arabs have always been and still are among the smartest people on this planet. The very evidence lies in the West itself, stealing our heritage, our monuments, and even rewriting our history. That's the general idea. Tell me, do you see it the same way, or would you add something? In Providence City, Rhode Island in the United States, back in 2010, a man named William made a bold decision. He was going to rob a bank, but not just any robbery. His plan had to be clever enough to kill two birds with one stone, walk away with instant wealth while keeping himself far from suspicion. For days and weeks, he sat scheming, piecing together an extraordinary plan to pull off one of the city's most daring heists. The plan was straightforward: disguise himself as just another employee, slip into the bank pretending to be a harmless worker, nothing more. Then walk straight into the vault and take exactly $500,000. No more, no less. The trick? No one would even notice that small amount missing until a very, very long time later. And here's the crazy part. William was literally jotting all of this down in his notes on Facebook. Hold on, I'll explain. William thought that if the police caught him without solid evidence, these writings could be used to convict him. So if he created a Facebook account under a fake name and kept his writings there, nobody would ever trace them back to him, even if he was arrested. Don't ask me what was going through his head. I can only tell you this much. The story made it into dozens of newspapers. The reason he had to keep recording and writing down his plans was because he suffered from a peculiar condition, something resembling Alzheimer's, though not quite the real disease. It was more of a health state triggered by years of heavy drug and substance abuse, leaving him in a fog of poor concentration and frequent forgetfulness. The closest description, a lighter shade of Alzheimer's. William set out on a stroll through the city of Providence, scouting for the perfect bank to rob. Once he had marked his target, he planned to pick a company whose staff he could impersonate. He was in full possession of his wits, thinking it all through with a seriousness that revealed both his cunning, his foolishness, and that strange streak of luck he always carried. As he wandered through the city, his eyes caught sight of a bank hidden within a towering 12-story block. Its branch spread across the ground floor and the basements below. Something about it struck him. It could be exactly what he needed. First, this is not the head office, merely a branch. Second, the building is openly accessible. Anyone can walk in with no red tape. Third, since the bank occupies the ground floor, the vault is likely either at street level or one floor below ground. A remarkably logical deduction if you discount the man's complete lack of logic. Back at his place, he scribbled down the outline. Step 1, pose as an elevator technician to gain entry. Step 2, pinpoint the safe and figure out how to crack it. William's thoughts were messy, his mind racing in odd, scattered directions. He returned to the bank, slipped inside the building, and scanned for the perfect entry point. That's when he noticed the company's name stamped right above the elevator door. A single clue, one that suddenly simplified everything. The man walked into the elevator maintenance company and introduced himself as the owner of a massive building in the heart of the city. A property with shops, offices, and residential apartments. Soon, he explained, it would be transformed into a full-fledged shopping center. He hinted at the possibility of signing an exclusive contract that would make their company solely responsible for maintaining all the building's elevators. A golden deal for them, without a doubt. Thanks to his effortless way of speaking, spontaneous yet serious, and reinforced by his formal attire, they took his words at face value without demanding proof. Soon he was chatting with the supervisor about the methods they used and the efficiency of the team. The supervisor eagerly explained that every worker wore a standardized uniform from a well-known manufacturer, and that even their vehicles came from a specific factory. On and on, the list continued. Meanwhile, William sat there, feigning disinterest, listening intently, and jotting everything down with a look of stern concentration. After the interview wrapped up, he shook hands with the company owner and said, "I'll be visiting you soon, once everything is settled." He pocketed the company's business card, complete with the address, contact details, and phone numbers, and slipped it into his wallet. Then he stepped out, adjusted his path, and headed straight toward the garment factory. It wasn't just any factory, it was a massive one right in the heart of the city, and somehow, through a way you'd never imagine, he managed to get his hands on an official uniform from the very same maintenance company. He slipped through the factory's back entrance, the same one used to wheel out dumpsters and waste. In full view of the workers and staff, he began searching for the maintenance crew's uniform. Because of his sharp, formal attire, everyone assumed he was someone important, maybe a high-ranking executive from the very clothing factory they worked in. So everyone began working with full energy and seriousness, terrified of this man who strode confidently through the factory, walking right into its sections as if he owned the place. He moved so naturally that even the security guard greeted him and let him pass, convinced he was truly part of the management. It was impossible that he was just some random guy off the street walking into the factory and checking on workers. No, he had to be sent from inside, from someone who knew the place. William kept searching through the sections of the factory until he reached the storage room. There, he found a maintenance uniform identical to the ones used by the repair crew. He put it on, kept walking, and slipped out without raising the slightest suspicion. Honestly, it was one of the most baffling thefts I've ever seen. He put on the uniform and walked in as if he were the one sent to inspect the elevator inside the bank building. And this was during office hours, broad daylight, in full view of everyone. He stepped inside with no equipment at all, but from the little he knew, elevators required a room beneath the structure and another one above for the system to move properly. His true goal was to reach the chamber hidden beneath the elevator. Let me shock you, my friend. William actually managed to force the elevator doors to stay open while the elevator itself kept moving upward. He pulled it off by tampering with the sensors that control the opening and closing of the doors. He then slipped down into the shaft below without anyone noticing and reset the elevator back to normal. But here's the real twist. He found a way to manipulate the sensors so that he could control them at will. Whenever he wanted the doors to open or close, it was entirely up to him. So our dear friend ended up underground. But before that, since he had already arranged the place, there was just one thing left, finding the vault, and surprisingly, that turned out to be the easiest part. Most banks usually keep two types of vaults. The first is a secret vault, accessible only to a very limited number of employees, where the bank's own funds are stored. The second is for safekeeping valuables. You bring something precious, pay a fee, and the bank gives you a deposit box. In theory, no one but you should have access to it. Not even the bank itself has the authority to open your private safe. William went to the bank, handed over his identification papers, and opened a safe deposit box to set the stage for his plan. The clerk gave him a small key, his own access to the box. He walked in carrying a few ordinary papers, pretending they were the valuables he wanted to store. After paying the deposit box fee, everything seemed perfectly routine. But with this move, he had gained something far more valuable: knowledge of the vault's location right next to the elevator room. To be absolutely certain, he grabbed a simple walkie-talkie and removed the small copper antenna on top, making its range ridiculously short. Barely a meter. He then placed it inside the bank, hidden in the safe deposit box they had given him. From there, he could head to the elevator room with a second device, one that would allow him to pinpoint the signal from the first box. William's cunning. He tuned both wireless units to the same frequency and ripped the antennas off them. He left the unit inside the room with its switch jammed down so it would broadcast constantly. So when the second unit gets within a certain range, it picks up the first unit's signal and emits a telltale tone, as if someone were using it. That ping betrays the exact position of the device hidden in the vault and also reveals that it's within about a meter of the second unit. From there, they know exactly where to start digging to get at the safe deposit boxes. The idea of drilling a wall required planning. He had to dig a small hole exactly behind his box to ensure it wouldn't be discovered, and to determine the thickness of this wall. Then he enlarged the hole in the wall while maintaining a thin layer intact. In other words, he reduced the wall's thickness around a certain area without breaking it through to the opposite side. When he felt the time was appropriate, he could break this layer and create a large hole in the wall to steal all the contents of the safety deposit boxes without anyone even noticing or suspecting anything. And that's exactly what happened. Through the elevator shaft, he managed to thin out the wall behind the safety deposit boxes. Then, on a public holiday, armed with nothing more than a sharp tool, he pierced a hole right behind the vault. With ease, he looted the contents of 12 boxes, including his own. Later, when the police uncovered the break-in, they'd remark with disbelief, even William himself was robbed. Just as he had planned, suspicion drifted far away from him. The safe deposit boxes weren't as invincible as they looked. Picture shelves built into the wall, wrapped in steel from the front and sides, with an iron door that seemed unbreakable. Yet behind them lay a flimsy sheet of metal, secured by nothing more than a handful of screws. That was his golden opportunity. With ease, he took the box. Luck and brilliance were on his side. He robbed a bank without leaving a trace, without a soul ever realizing he had been there. But the moment he finished the heist, gathered every stolen item, and pushed open the elevator doors to make his escape, he froze. The cops were right there, literally waiting for him. Sitting calmly at the entrance, as if they had known all along what William had been plotting during these secret months of planning. He was caught, restrained, and thrown in jail red-handed. Yet he kept asking himself, how did they know? Confident as ever, he was certain there wasn't a shred of evidence against him. No cameras, no photos, nothing at all. Until the trial came. And the shock was so great that even the judge was left speechless at William's mix of brilliance and stupidity. Here's the twist, William. Before plotting the bank robbery, he didn't keep his plans in a diary. He kept them on Facebook. Every shady deal, every drug dealer's name, every forbidden contact, all stored there, not out of recklessness, but because his addiction kept messing with his memory. For him, Facebook wasn't just social media. It was his vault of secrets. So, what was the problem? He was publishing everything out in the open. He didn't really understand Facebook, and despite being smart, he believed he was writing in some secret diary only he could read. In reality, the only eyes on his words belonged to the police, scanning the web with filters designed to catch anything tied to the forbidden. They observed him closely, studying his condition, his fragile health. Then they turned it into an opportunity, a trap to lure in other traders in the field and catch them red-handed. What they didn't expect was staggering. The man had been keeping notes. Not random scribbles, but a meticulous plan to rob a bank. The name of the bank, its location, the strategy, the progress, all carefully written down. Not as a mastermind, but simply as a man terrified of forgetting. The courtroom froze as the judge realized he was looking at something unique. The rare collision of absolute stupidity with undeniable genius. For the police, the evidence was undeniable. They had trailed William from the very beginning, documenting each step, watching patiently until the moment he fell into their trap. From the elevator maintenance firm to the garment factory, all the way to the stolen safety deposit boxes. The crime that sealed his fate with a 7-year sentence, fueled by his bizarre illness and his fractured dual mindset. The court reduced his sentence to a conditional release. On one simple term, William must now work for the good of society and the public interest. His job, to hunt down the loopholes and weak points in banks and government institutions so they can be sealed and their defenses strengthened. Yes, my friend, that was the beginning of William Pierce's story. The man who helped rewrite the rules of bank vault security in America from 2010 to today, under the ironic banner absolute intelligence and complete stupidity. Among the most peculiar discoveries is a stone unearthed in 1980 inside the Great Pyramid itself, embedded within a specific section of its wall, almost as if it had been deliberately placed there. The finding sparked the curiosity of several scholars, who argued that the stone dates back to an ancient era so distant that it deserves a place in a museum. But the stone vanished until 2009, when photos and videos of it suddenly resurfaced. An unidentified man presented something that seemed closer to fiction than reality. This so-called pharaonic stone, as he named it, had bizarre powers. Expose it to sunlight for just a few minutes, then place it in water, and the water would boil, literally. Set it beside a television, and the image on the screen would distort as though the stone were radiating strange and powerful frequencies. Even more puzzling, when positioned at a certain angle before a mirror, its reflection would disappear completely. The phenomenon left scientists and onlookers baffled. How could a mere stone erase its own image? They say the stone is as old as the pyramids, carrying properties that border on the unreal. Its geometric design hints that some hidden technology lies within it, something bizarre, inexplicable. If you hold it in your hand, it might make it move on its own, connect you to the channel, and even let you rewatch past episodes against your will. Honestly, I have no idea how. Listen, my friend, if the stone really gets a grip on you, it might nudge you to turn on notifications and share this video so you'll be ready for the next episodes. Who knows, maybe it'll even convince you to follow me on Instagram and see what my life looks like off YouTube. I'm Ali Ahmed. Goodbye. The problem is, I've completely lost the sources for this story. I have no idea where I'll get the pictures from. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. I swear, I'm clueless. They call this an epiphany, I guess. Maybe this monk. What I do know is, there's a burning smell, and I fear the computer itself might be on fire. But, is this part of the story or something else? I honestly can't tell. Man, something's definitely burning. I don't even know what it smells like. Some kind of burnt mess. Did it burn here? There's still no smoke. Alright, thank God. Let's just keep going. Whatever it takes, let's get it done. Hey, what is going on? I was just using the mouse and it completely died. Every single day something breaks. I'm scared. Just hope the camera doesn't stop working. Phone, computer, microphone. The mouse is on its way out, and even the globe I'm filming with and the softbox. Right now, they're still working, but I can smell something burning. It's totally normal if it actually catches fire. God help me.